12th, 2023, and the time is 7:30 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask you all to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Donna, can we have the roll call?
Kieffer.
Here.
DeHaven.
Here.
Spruill.
Here.
Rainey.
Here.
Yazzie.
Here.
Dobry.
Here.
Medina.
Here. All right, then I'll ask council if there's an approval of the agenda or if anyone would like to make an amendment.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion that council approve the agenda for September 12th, 2023.
Second. Motion made by Yazzie and seconded by DeHaven.
Yazzie.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Kieffer.
Aye.
Spruill.
Yes.
Medina.
Yes. All right, and we'll move on to number 2 on our agenda, the consent agenda. The listing under the consent agenda is a group of items to be acted on with a single motion and vote. This agenda is designed to expedite the handling of limited routine matters by City Council. Either the public or council member may request that an item may be removed from the consent agenda at the time prior to council's vote. On our consent agenda is A, approval of the council work session and agenda minutes for August 22nd, 2023. B, approval of expenditure list for September 12th, 2023. C, approval of a renewal brew pub liquor license and outdoor dining agreement for Wild Edge Brewing Collective, LLC, DBA Wild Edge Brewing Collective, located at 111 North Market Street, Cortez. D, approval of a renewal hotel and restaurant liquor license for Lounge and Lizard, Inc., DBA Lounge and Lizard, located at 2 West Main Street, Cortez. E, approval of a renewal brew pub liquor license for L&D Development, Inc., DBA J. Fargo's, located at 1209 East Main Street, Cortez. And F, approval of an outdoor dining agreement for Jodi Jahrling, DBA Zoo Gallery, located at 48 West Main Street, Cortez. Would a citizen or council member wish to have any specific item removed for discussion? If not, do we have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Second.
Motion made by Dobry and seconded by Kieffer.
Yazzie.
Aye.
Kieffer. Spruill.
Yes.
Dobry.
Aye.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. Okay, we'll move on to public participation, which is number 3 on our agenda. There's no limit to the number of speakers, although public comment will be held to an overall time limit of 30 minutes. Speakers have a time limit of 3 minutes per person, may only speak once, and may not cede time to another commenter. Do we have public comment? Great. All right, I'd like to invite Jim Mischke to the podium. Make sure that the microphone's green, and start with your name and address.
Is that working fine? Okay. So, James Mischke, 143 East North Street here in Cortez. Maybe you guys remember me. I'm sort of the noise ordinance crusader. I thought it might be useful tonight were I to draw some attention and some focus to the pathologies that arise from excessive exposure to decibels. This is from the World Health Organization. I'll just choose a few areas. Sleep disturbances. I'll have to go fast. Whereas uninterrupted sleep is known to be a prerequisite for good physiological and mental health functioning in healthy persons, noise ordinance is a major cause of sleep disturbance. Apart from various effects of sleep itself, noise ordinance during sleep causes increased blood pressure, increased heart rate, increased pulse amplitude, vasoconstriction, cardioarrhythmias, and increased body movement. These effects do not decrease over time. Secondary effects include fatigue, depressed mood, and a diminished sense of well-being and decreased performance. Cardiovascular disturbances. Whereas a growing body of evidence suggests that noise pollution may be a risk factor for cardiovascular disease, acute exposure to noise activates nervous and hormonal responses, leading to increased blood pressure and heart rate and to vasoconstriction. If the exposure is of sufficient intensity, there is increased heart rate and peripheral resistance and increased blood pressure and increased levels of stress hormones, epinephrine, now norepinephrine, and cortisol. Disturbances in mental health. Noise pollution may cause or contribute to the following adverse effects: anxiety, stress, nervousness, nausea, headache, emotional instability, argumentative, sexual impotence, changes in mood, increase in social conflicts, neurosis, hysteria, and possibly psychosis. Children, the elderly, and those with underlying depression are particularly susceptible to these effects. Impaired task performance. Whereas the effects of noise pollution on task performance have been well studied, it has been documented that noise pollution impairs task performance, increases errors, and decreases motivation. Reading attention, problem solving, and memory are most strongly affected by noise. Produced negative after effects on performance, particularly in children. To summarize, groups vulnerable to the effects of noise pollution, whereas it is recognized that although everyone may be adversely affected by noise pollution, groups that are particularly vulnerable include infants, children, and those with mental or physical illnesses, and the elderly. Because children are particularly vulnerable to noise-induced abnormalities, they need special protection. The conclusion from the World Health Organization in regard to this issue: the aim of enlightened governmental controls should be to protect the population from these adverse effects of noise. The only thing I would say further is I would remind us, I looked up the mission for the city of Cortez, and it is as follows. It is the city's mission to make Cortez a desirable place for families to live and work. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. All right, do we have anyone else in the audience that would like to speak? All right, I'm going to close the public participation section of our agenda and move on to number 4, presentations. 4A is a thank you to Mr. Lance McDaniel for his service to the city of Cortez.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The purpose of this item is to recognize Mr. Lance McDaniel, who is actually on the far side of the room over here and joined us this evening. He has indicated that it is time for him to resign from the Planning and Zoning Commission. As such, we just wanted to take a moment and recognize him for the service he rendered. In the memo that I submitted to Council, it states that Mr. Lance McDaniel has served the city of Cortez during the past 5 years as a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission and served as the Vice Chairman of the Commission since March of 2023. He also served as a member of the Board of Adjustments and Appeals since October of 2021. The City of Cortez would like to thank Mr. McDaniel for the many years of service and dedication to the residents of our community. His contributions, ideas, and hard work are very much appreciated and have helped guide the city during the past 5 years. And with that, I understand that Council has some items for him.
Thank you so much for your years of dedication, Lance. I got to be on Planning and Zoning with you years ago, and just appreciate you dedicating so much time.
Is it okay if I say a few words?
Please.
I just want to say it's been my privilege and honor to serve on any of the city committees that I've been on. I enjoyed my time immensely. I learned a lot, and I continue to try and learn a lot. And I just wanted to thank the 3 city managers, the 2 city attorneys, the 3 mayors, and the 4 or 5 different councils that I was allowed to serve under. I appreciate it very much, and I appreciate this award. It'll go on my desk next to my nameplate. And again, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Lance. All right, we're going to move on to 5 on our agenda, public hearings. We have none tonight. 6 is unfinished business. We have none as well. So we're moving on to 7 on our agenda, new business. 7A is a new application for a hotel and restaurant liquor license, presented by Donna Murphy, our Deputy City Clerk.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. El Compastre Mexican Restaurant LLC filed an application in the City Clerk's office on August 8th, 2023 for a new hotel and restaurant liquor license to be located at 1430 East Main Street, Suite 6 in Cortez. Council is directed by state statutes to determine the needs of the neighborhood, the desires of the residents of the neighborhood, and to verify the applicant is of good character. Fingerprints for the applicant were sent to CBI and individual history reports have been completed. State regulations require that the local licensing authorities schedule a public hearing not less than 30 days from the date of the application and set neighborhood boundaries. Public notice has been given by posting the premises, and a notice will be placed in the Cortez Journal. Staff is requesting that council set a public hearing date of Tuesday, September 26th, 2023 for review of the new hotel and restaurant liquor license for El Compastre Mexican Restaurant LLC and set the neighborhood boundaries as the Cortez city limits. Any questions?
Any questions? No, it's where the pizza place was. Yeah. All right, do we have a motion to set a public hearing?
Madam Mayor, I move that City Council set a public hearing date of Tuesday, September 26th, 2023, at 7:30 p.m. for the review of a new hotel and restaurant liquor license for El Campestre Mexican Restaurant LLC, and that the neighborhood boundaries be set as the city Cortez limits.
Second.
Motion made by Dobry and seconded by Yazzie.
Dobry,
Aye.
Kiefhoffer,
Aye.
Rainey,
Aye.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Yazzie,
Aye.
Sproul,
Yes.
Medina.
Aye. All right, we're moving on to 7B on our agenda, the 2023 Equipment Fund Purchase of Used Truck for Parks Department, presented by Rick Smith, our Director of General Services.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council. The 2023 Equipment Fund budget provides $45,000 for the purchase of a used truck for the Parks Department. This unit was budgeted used since we're having such a hard time getting new ones. You don't know if you're ever going to get them anymore. We reached out to the 2 local dealers, Kazee Motors and Webb Chevrolet. And I would also mention that Lyle contacted Morehart Chevrolet in Durango for comparative pricing. The 2 bid items, item 1 and 2, we had them delivered out to the city service center, and the mechanics went over both units. And based on that recommendation, and the Morehart unit was 2019, I believe, and had quite a bit more miles, so it wasn't really considered, and we didn't even look at the unit in person. So the low bid, or the bid that we're asking for, is Kazee Motors for an F-150 2021 with 47,000 miles on it at a price of $43,500, and that was after the mechanics did their evaluation on that. So
How much would a truck like that cost new?
thank you for that question, because pre-COVID, we could have bought a new pickup under the fleet programs for that same price as this used one. However, they've eliminated most of the fleet discounts, all the manufacturers have, and an equivalent truck like that is probably between, roughly around 60,000.
Are there any upfitting costs that you need once you get that truck? Are there any costs to like upfit it to make sure that it has all the things that you need, striping, anything like that? And can you do that under the budget?
And the only thing we need to do is put the badging on there, the City of Cortez logo, which we have already in the shop, and the Parks Department decal. And I believe any toolboxes and stuff like that, Lyle, correct me if I'm wrong, you have those already?
Thank you.
Okay, so, I mean, even though we're going for the more expensive one, it's still under budget, under predicted budget.
It's about $1,500 under the budgeted amount.
Okay.
I move that council award the used pickup purchase for the Parks Department to Kazee Motors at the quoted amount of $43,500.
Second.
Motion made by DeHaven and seconded by Kiefhopper.
Rainey,
Aye.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Spurl,
Yes.
Kiefhopper,
Aye.
Yazzie,
Aye.
Dobry,
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. All right. We're going to move on to 7C on the agenda, a letter of support for Clear Networks / Montezuma County Priority 1 and Number 2 project, presented by Rick Smith, Director of General Services. Before you start,
Madam Mayor, before we start that, in my role with the county, I've worked on this, so I'm going to recuse myself from this and step aside.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Dobry. All right, Rick, well, we'll wait till he leaves and then you can start.
Okay, Honorable Mayor and City Council, the Colorado Broadband Office, as we call the CBO, they have a new grant available for broadband, and this is called the Advanced Colorado Capital Fund Grant Program. The state of Colorado received about $164 million for this round of grants for broadband, and it specifically is addressing unserved first and underserved secondly areas of rural Colorado. So this would target Montezuma County residents. Montezuma County did a process called the Invitation to Negotiate, and the result of that process was that they are partnering with Clear Networks to build out portions of the county that we get grants for. They've identified, Montezuma County and Clear Networks have identified two primary areas that fits the criteria for the CPF grant, that being unserved areas. And the first priority for the grant would be between Mancos and Dolores along Highway 184, mainly serving people along the Summit Ridge area. And the second one would be between Cortez and Mancos, primarily servicing the subdivisions directly north of Mesa Verde and that area. Interestingly enough, the two targeted areas in this has about 1,000 neighbor residents and addresses that are technically considered unserved. Unserved by the federal government is less than 25 megabits down and 3 megabits up. So those folks have really poor service. And for the purpose of this grant, they may have wireless connectivity, but the federal government and the state Colorado Broadband Office does not count wireless as being connected because they want to have fiber to these homes and businesses. So what we're asking is the city of Cortez offer a letter of support for that grant process. And I'd like to thank Kent. I understand the county commissioners approved their letter today, and these will be going in. The grant application has to be in September 22nd.
Great.
And I have attached a suggested letter for the mayor to sign.
Is this going to help if they get this grant? Is this also helping with like the middle mile or redundancy stuff?
Yes, I need to be careful how I answer this. The stipulation to this grant is that it's last mile, which is for the homes, with a middle mile component. The beauty of it for Montezuma County is it starts to create a ring, middle mile ring around the county from Cortez to Mancos to Dolores and back to Cortez, from which to construct the next round of grants. By the way, the next round is called the BEAD grant, and Colorado received $826 million for that one. So that's where we'll be able to fill in some of the rest of the areas of Montezuma County. And so far, it does exclude the Mountain Ute tribe because they've been awarded funding from in the tribal sections of all this. So it's going to be good.
I'm glad to hear it includes that end mile, the distribution as well, because if we build all the middle mile and we have to wait years to actually still connect it to homes.
And that's where the BEAD takes off from this.
Okay, great.
I just want to say I'm pretty sure most of the public isn't aware that the town of Mancos, Dolores, Cortez, the county commissioners, and folks in Toyac have been getting together actually 3 times now, and I think that this is just a really good example of what can happen when you work together, even though it's just, you know, a simple letter of support from all of those different entities. It really makes a difference for everybody in the county, and it just makes a lot of sense that we're kind of all working together on it. So thank you for you know, bringing this to us and you know, keeping us connected in that way.
Thank you. It really is a regional effort, you bet.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion that council authorize the mayor to sign the letter of support for Clear Networks Montezuma County Priority 1 and 2 CPF project.
Second.
Motion made by Yazzie and seconded by DeHaven.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Yazzie.
Aye.
Dobry. Oh, sorry. DeHaven.
Aye.
Spruill.
Yes.
Medina.
Aye.
If I may, council, I'd like to give a quick update on the progress in Cortez.
Oh, that'd be
for the
great.
broadband.
Can we bring Robert back in just so he can?
Yeah, you can bring him.
I mean, he probably knows what's all going on, but just in case.
So I got an update from Clear Networks on the status of the Cortez build-out. As you recall, they're leasing the city's infrastructure and going to build out everywhere in the city limits. And by the way, any citizen or can go to clearnetworks.com/Cortez and pre-register their home for getting connected. But progress on Montezuma's on track. They complete the work this week on the Montezuma. That'll grant them full connectivity to their head end in approximately 7 to 8 weeks. They're also focusing on underground construction. They're working on areas throughout Cortez, and they're prioritizing this so that they can get the underground done before winter comes. They pulled permits for the following area: the Kreitz subdivision, Conquistador Golf Course, and Brandon's Gate. And Southern Bluffs boring is set to commence in Southern Bluffs this week as well, further expanding the network. The aerial routes, this is a big part of it. All the aerial routes have been measured, engineered, and reports made for Make Ready and stuff for Empire Electric. And so that'll be a big piece coming up this next year. And they plan to start their marketing and community communications in the next 2 weeks. So that's kind of a quick and dirty update. So thank you.
Great. Go ahead, Dennis.
There we go. Was the airport included in that? Did I not hear that, or?
No, the airport is not included in that since it's out in the county. So the deal with the city is inside the city limits.
Okay.
Yeah, well, when and how are we going to get fiber to the airport then?
We're hoping to be able to leverage those BEAD grants that I spoke to you earlier about and get that done that way.
Yeah, is there like a rhyme or reason why they started with those specific subdivisions for permitting, or are they like starting at the outskirts and moving inward?
I think if I understood your question, is why did they start with those subdivisions? For example, Southern Bluffs is all underground, and they're trying to get as much of that underground work done as they can prior to doing the aerial. And as far as the actual timelines of what areas, I'm not really privy to why they have or have not, but it's a good game plan from what I can see.
Is it because they're HOAs and they needed a different kind of permission structure than city streets?
Well, most of it's going to be built aerial where they can because it's simply cheaper. But that's why they wanted to get the underground done before the snow flies, because they can be doing some of the aerial during the winter and keep going. So, and to be upfront with you, Montezuma was real important underground because that's going to be their new backbone, and they're going to serve Cortez north and south off of Montezuma as they swing the services away from the service center to their new head end, excuse me.
Not to get into the weeds, but is the city still hosting utility coordination meetings, and will Clear Networks be invited to those? Because I'm just thinking long-term too, is like we redo our roads over the next 20 or in perpetuity. You know, I hope that they're invited to coordinate.
Yeah, so we still are hosting those meetings, and there's one, I think, tomorrow at the sanitation district, and certainly we can invite them as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Their team's been invited. I don't know how the communication's working out.
Okay. And I know it's hard, they don't have someone that lives here, but just so that that engagement is open. Okay. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to D on our agenda, 7D, which is the award of the 2023 South Parkett Playground Project, presented by Creighton Wright, our Parks and Recreation Director.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I'm excited to bring this item to you tonight to do some enhancements on the south side of Cortez. Initially, this year, 2023, the South Side Park Project was contemplated to begin in late 2021, 2022, early 22. We had an internal discussion with department staff, our Parks Rec Advisory, Forestry Advisory Board, and City Administration, and decided that we would slow the South Side Park project and instead focus on some enhancements to these pocket parks by adding playgrounds into the two of them. And just for clarity's sake, the two pocket parks are located generally at the corner of 4th and Market, and the other one is kind of mid-block in the vicinity of 3rd and Harrison. With the idea that this would be our focus for the south side for this year, we budgeted for these playground enhancements in this year's budget. We worked with General Services to prepare a request for proposal and advertised it. We gained interest from 6 different playground firms, although we received proposals from 5 of them, in which they included 8 different options for playgrounds. We asked as a part of that request for proposal that they submit 2 playground options for each location, as well as 1 fitness center option for each site. The request for proposal requested, I guess, that the playgrounds be designed for children ages 5 to 12, and to not include swings because they would take up a little bit more than half of the total site we had available to it. So instead, we asked that they include climbing structures, slides, spinners, and other individual play features. The manufacturer also had to supply the engineered wood fiber stuff that goes underneath the playgrounds that is cushiony so that if kids fall, they don't get hurt. We also asked that they include integrated shade in the design and that the proposals are ADA accessible and meet all current playground safety standards. In the request for proposal, we identified a 2-step selection process. The first step was an evaluation committee consisting of a Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Advisory Board member, our council candidate, Mr. Kiefhofer, as well as our former Parks and Rec Director, Chris Burkett, our Park Superintendent, and myself, all reviewed and evaluated, scored the proposals. And the second part of that proposal, as the selection committee, as we identified in the RFP, was to also have a neighborhood meeting and do some feedback to ultimately change the design. In consulting with the playground manufacturers, they felt that there weren't a lot of options to change the designs. And secondly, if we did that, it would potentially push the installation back beyond this calendar year. So we opted not to have the neighborhood meetings, but instead, we have implemented a neighborhood information campaign that is ongoing today, which includes mailings to virtually everyone on the south side of Cortez, all the residences, door-to-door information campaign, which hasn't quite started yet, but I'm sure will start very soon. And we posted information to our city website, and we haven't posted to social media sites, but we will be doing that soon as well. I did also produce some signs that'll go up at each of the 2 sites that has just been completed, and we'll end up getting that installed in the next week as well. I did, as a part of the mailer, put some enlarged text if anyone had any thoughts, comments, or feedback to reach out to me and share that with me. And I have thus far, in about a week, gotten about 8 responses thus far. The overall response is incredibly positive and effectively thanking me for, or thanking us for working on this. I did get 3 responses that said, also, by the way, what's going on with the South Side Park. So on that note, just briefly, the city manager has asked that I work with the community development director and create an update identifying both what's going on with the 7th Street Park site as well as the housing project, and that's in progress right now. Should be done in the next couple weeks or so. So back to the staff memo. So we did, as a part of the RFP, ask for fitness station options for the 4th and Market location. The evaluation committee ultimately stepped back and really looked at the playgrounds and felt like that really needed to be the priority, and that the fitness station option, although interesting, would not be seriously considered. We really wanted to focus on the playgrounds. As a part of scoring the proposals, the evaluation committee factored or scored on several different criteria, including creativity of the design, compatibility with our existing playgrounds, delivery and installation timeline, value, and cost. With that in mind, the evaluation committee identified the top rank vendor as A to Z Recreation Products, and their proposal cost was $166,601. We budgeted for this project $200,000 for the installation of these 2 playgrounds. There is a second scope item that we're still working through with Public Works. We have the concrete portion, which will include a sidewalk, a ADA accessible ramp into the playground, as well as a curb that goes around the exterior. That will also be paid out of that budget. So with that, the $200,000 is what was included in the budget. The bid was $166,601, well below that budget. With that, staff recommends that council award the 2023 South Pocket Park Playground Enhancement Project to A to Z Recreation Products in the amount of $166,601. With that, I'll take any questions that you may have. Oh, by the way, in the staff memo, there's also 3 different views of the designs of the 2 sites.
Is there any restrooms in the pocket parks?
There are no restrooms in either of these 2 pocket parks. They're very, very small, just a little over a ½ acre in size. Frankly, a restroom wouldn't really fit in either of the 2 locations.
And to jump over to the South Park, you opened the door. I want to say that since they started watering and mowing, the people have come back. It virtually became a desert. and it was horrible. But now I'm starting to see families enjoying it, and I think that's what we need to see down there more than anything else is some green grass.
We've, on that topic, we've put quite a bit of effort here in the latter part of the summer to get that back going, and we have something planned in the budget for next year to even grow that a little bit farther.
What's the lifespan of these playgrounds?
Councilmember DeHaven, a lifespan of a playground is generally between 20 and 30 years. It really kind of depends on how much it's used and what, so they're kind of hard to describe, but there are different tiers of playgrounds based on their the resiliency long-term. I think the general rule of thumb is between 20 and 30 years.
Okay, and is there any type of like warranty that comes with this? And is this company, how long has this company been around if like one piece breaks and we need a replacement?
So ultimately, playgrounds are manufactured by a national firm. In this case, this manufacturer is Burke, so it is a nationally known playground manufacturer. There is a local representative for Colorado, which is our A to Z products, recreation products is the local rep. Both Burke and A to Z have been around for a long time. Burke, as long as I've been in the Parks and Rec industry, Burke was around before I was, so it's a good 20 years. A to Z has been a pretty long-standing company. We have several other Burke playgrounds in town that are still holding up very well right now.
Along those same lines, the ground cover that you said is included, the wood chip, is that something that I guess we budget and will continue to refill? Do you have to continue to buy that from them, or is that something we can get locally as well?
Councilmember Dobry, it is a specialized product that we do have to buy from a rep that specifically creates this engineered wood fiber. The nearest company that I'm aware of that we've bought materials from is out of Montrose. So we do buy that on about an every other year basis and refill the playgrounds. So that is something that is a constant ongoing thing that we always have to do because it does get either compacted or it decomposes a little bit or it gets kicked out of the playgrounds.
I'm really hoping no trees need to be removed to install these.
Madam Mayor, there are no trees that need to be removed. We did do some trimming at the 4th and Market location in order to provide the overhead clearance that's necessary for the playground, but we do not have to remove any.
Okay. I'm curious where at the 3rd Street Pocket Park, like where this is going to go, just thinking that the community garden is kind of like right in the middle, and then, yeah, I'm just curious the layout.
I would invite each of you council members to drive by these sites. It is very apparent where they are because we've already started some of the demolition and the irrigation removal.
Okay.
So there is big open dirt areas where the two playgrounds will reside. Specifically, the 3rd and Harrison location is kind of back into the west of where the community garden is. If you're familiar with that site, there's a kind of an open field behind the community garden before the basketball courts, and that's right where the playground will go.
Okay, great. All right, do we have a motion?
I just had one other thing. I just wanted to highlight the importance of having parks like this on the south side of town because letting the youth and letting children be able to play in their neighborhood, not have to cross the highway, is a major safety issue, and also it's an issue we need to make sure that we invest in all the parts of our community. So I just wanted to mention that before we had a motion.
And Councilmember, if I can just add to that, the one other thing that I'd add is also having parks in a location that is walkable, bikeable to our community is really super important so that not only is it important that they're there in their neighborhoods, but the kids can easily get to them without having to necessarily need a parent involved, although that's certainly encouraged.
That's a good point.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to award the 2023 South Park playground enhancement project to A&Z Recreation Products in the amount of $166,601.
Second.
Motion made by Kiefhoffer and seconded by Dobry.
Kiefhoffer,
Aye.
Spurl,
Yes.
Rainey,
Aye.
Dobry,
Aye.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Yazzie,
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. Okay, we're going to move on to 7E on our agenda, which is an award for the outdoor pool heater, presented by Creighton.
Good evening again. So the next two items are for the outdoor pool. This first item we're talking about is the actual pool heater. So this is what heats the pool water that's, you know, within the confines of the pool itself. The second item is the hot water heaters that supply the locker rooms. So the first item, our pool heater is at the outdoor pool, is about 35 years old. Last year we had some terrible problems keeping it running. It would not stay running. We ended up coming up with a workaround fix that did keep it on and functioning last year, and thus far this year it worked well enough. But last year we viewed that challenges that we had keeping it operational as a sign of what is to come. It is beyond its useful life at this point, being 35 years old. And therefore, we put it in the budget for 2023 to replace it this year, work with General Services to create bid documents and advertise them, and had interest and proposals from 2 different firms. We specified in the bid documents 3 different versions with increasing efficiency. Option 1 was the least efficient to the next, and 3 the highest, most efficient. Once we received the bids, I reviewed and evaluated the cost versus value with the understanding that that pool heater runs for only 4 months out of the year, and did a payoff on that, and it was years down the road if we upgraded beyond the least efficient model. It just didn't financially make a whole lot of sense. So with that, I am really looking at only option 1, and that's what the staff recommendation is. You can see the 2 bids that we received, one from Roseberry's Plumbing and Heating, and the second one from Farmington Heating and Metal Company. The Farmington Heating and Metal Company's option 1 price is for $126,923. We budgeted for this pool heater replacement in the amount of $155,000. The bid amount is well below that, and therefore I recommend that council award the outdoor pool heater bid to Farmington Heating and Metal Company, not exceeding the bid amount of $126,923. And with that, I'll take any questions that you may have.
Creighton, what's the lifespan for?
So normal lifespan on a pool heater is about 10 years, but given that this one only runs about 4 months out of the year, we can expect about 15 to 18 years roughly out of it.
And what is the warranty for the work and for the heaters?
So the manufacturer's warranty is 1 year. That includes both the unit itself as well as parts and labor.
Have we worked with Farmington Heating and Cooling?
So Farmington Heating and Cooling, I'm just learning, is the company that installed our HVAC equipment on the rec center. And unfortunately, I'm learning because we've had a lot of problems with it this year, and we went back to the original manufacturer. So although we don't have experience with them working on this particular unit, we do have experience working with them more broadly at the rec center.
Okay, yeah, because I remember a company that had either not finished installing something or installed something wrong, and we had to, yeah.
That was not this vendor.
Is this the company that we worked with a couple of different times and there were issues a couple of different times, or is it just this one issue that we've had with them?
To my knowledge, Farmington Heating and Metal, we haven't had any issues with. We've had issues with a different vendor a couple of times.
Okay.
And we're no longer using that vendor.
Thank you.
I move that council award the outdoor pool heater bid to Farmington Heating and Metal Company not exceeding $126,923.
Second.
Motion made by DeHaven and seconded by Rainey.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Spurl,
Yes.
Yazzie,
Aye.
Rainey,
Aye.
Dobry,
Aye.
Kiefhoffer,
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. All right, so F is or 7F on our agenda is the award for the outdoor pool domestic water heater. Ian, you said that's for the locker rooms?
Yeah, so this supplies the I guess, drinkable domestic hot water for the entire outdoor pool, which primarily feeds the locker rooms. So 2 years ago, so there is currently, the way that the design is set up is that there is a hot water heater for each of the locker rooms. 2 years ago, one of those heaters failed, and instead of replacing them, we put in a workaround that supplied 1 unit's hot water to both of the 2 locker rooms. And while that works, it does generate or limits the amount of hot water that's going to both of the units, and we end up running out of hot water. So with that challenge and knowing that the units are 20 years old, and based on where you guys have gone so far, the lifespan on that kind of unit is 10 to 15 years roughly. Again, limited use of this, we could probably expect about the higher end, 15 years or so out of those units. With their age and the challenge that we already had with the 1 units, we put in the budget to replace them both this year. And so we put together bid packages with General Services. We advertised it with a Lochinvar unit, which is the same units we have, same type of units we have in the rec center. We're also, the pool heater you just awarded was a Lochinvar unit, so our maintenance technicians are very familiar with the way that they operate and how to maintain and operate them. So with that, we put out the bid. You can see on the chart the bids that we received for 1 unit, so you'll notice that the award is twice that amount to replace both of them. So the single unit low bid was supplied by Montezuma Valley Plumbing, LLC, in the amount of $4,904.90. We budgeted $20,000 for this project. The bid amount is well below that. With that, I recommend that council award the outdoor pool domestic water heater bid to Montezuma Valley Plumbing for 2 water heaters not exceeding $9,809.80. With that, I'll take any questions that you may have.
What's the expected lifespan on these heaters?
So they're 10 to 15 years. I would expect these, because they're limited use, probably to be at the upper end, the 15-year range roughly.
How many bidders did we have on this project?
Oh, so the chart represents all the bidders. We have 5.
Okay.
We actually did have 1 additional company that came in late and wished they could have gotten a bid in, but they unfortunately missed the deadline.
I have like a side question of do we anticipate any other major appliances to be going out for the pool in the near future, or that we need to keep on the horizon as that you'll be presenting to us perhaps about for the budget for next year that we should be aware of?
So I think we've replaced all of the major systems in the outdoor pool at this point. Well, I take that back. We do have 1 more item that's in the budget for this year, which is to put a roof over the mechanical building out the outdoor pool. It is currently a solid concrete roof, and the snow ice melt issue over the last several years has caused it to have some challenges and starting to break off. So that is one other item that will be likely coming to you either end of this year or early next year. That is in the budget, it is planned for and anticipated. Come next year, we're still working on our final budget proposal. There are some things in the outdoor pool that we're working on that it may come to you as a part of the budget meeting on the 23rd. I think broadly speaking, we are at the lifespan of our major equipment where we're at or beyond the lifespan of most of our major pieces of equipment. The rec center, as an example, we had some replacement of the HVAC equipment a couple of years ago. We found that we're having some problems with some of that stuff now. But we also have a hot water heater replacement at the rec center that is in the budget for this year that will be coming to you in the next 45 to 60 days. So really, my focus has been in the last year is trying to evaluate all of our big mechanical systems and anticipate their failure and hopefully replace them before they fail. A planned replacement is much easier to deal with than a failure and you're out of commission for 6 or 8 or 12 weeks. So that's really where we're trying to go. So let's get all the stuff we know is going to fail in the next couple of years and get it planned for and addressed.
Yeah, I feel like you've inherited a lot of infrastructure issues that are all coming like to a head of their lifespan all at once. So yeah, anything we can do to support you and other departments to like go from reactive to proactive so that we're not here again in 20 years.
Well, city manager has been very supportive of that same notion. I appreciate that, and there are some other things that we're working on for this next year's budget, and I'm hopeful that I think by next year we should address all the major issues.
Great. Well, thank you for your hard work and diligence with that and patience.
Yeah, I also want to say that the message that you put out to the community was very proactive, and I think that it was received in a way that was understanding from what I interpreted. So,
thank you.
Any questions? I'll go ahead and make a motion. I'll make a motion that council award the outdoor pool domestic water heater bid to Montezuma Valley Plumbing for 2 water heaters not exceeding a total of both water heaters of $9,809.80.
Second.
Motion made by Yazzie and seconded by Sproul.
Dobry,
Aye.
Yazzie,
Aye.
Kiefhoffer,
Aye.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Sproul,
Yes.
Rainey,
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. All right, thank you, Creighton.
Thank you for your ongoing support.
We're going to move on to 8 on our agenda, draft resolutions and ordinances. We have none. So number 9 on our agenda is the city attorney report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No report tonight.
Okay. Number 11 on our agenda, or 10, sorry, on our agenda now is city manager report.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. I have 3 items for you this evening. The first, I'd like to mention that our airport manager, Jeremy Patton, who is also the president of our local chapter of the Experimental Aircraft Association, or also known as EAA. This organization hosts Young Eagles events, which is dedicated to giving youth ages 8 to 17 an opportunity to go flying in a general aviation aircraft. These flights are offered free of charge and are made possible by the local EAA members and pilots. The program inspires and introduces children to the world of aviation. 4 rallies have been held during this past year, and may I just point out how difficult these are to put together and get pilots, weather, and everything to line up. But they've held 4 this year, and I say we because I'm a member of this and very proudly so. But I'd also like to point out that this was done this last summer in conjunction with the aviation-themed summer reading program through the Cortez Library. As a result of many of our local youth now see aviation as a career opportunity available to them. I attended the last one of these, and there was some children there who learned about this through the library and came out. It was really cool to see the overlap. So thank you, Jeremy, for your hard work. Secondly, just as council already knows, we're working diligently on our budget preparations. Kelly Koski and I have already met with all the departments, and we're now working to solidify requests so we can be ready for our September 23rd meeting with council, which is my 3rd item. We will be meeting in here in this building at 8 a.m. on September 23rd. and the public is invited to this. So this is not only council's chance to weigh in on the budget, but we sincerely invite members of the public to attend as well and weigh in. And not only we have this opportunity, but we're going to be sending it out so that after September 23rd and council has given your input, so the public has plenty of time to comment or inject anything they'd like to do or let us know about between then and when the second meeting in October, when we're requesting that public hearing and ordinance be passed, hopefully. So that concludes my report.
Great, thank you.
I have a question. Are we going to be like publicizing like the website for them for folks to post comments in ClearGov again this time around? Like, are we going to be making that public?
Absolutely, that's exactly what we're looking for, and we'll be putting it out several different avenues to hopefully get the word out and get comments on it. Okay. So yes, same system as we used before. Hopefully the community's starting to get used to that a little bit. So.
And just to add to that, 2 years ago, most of our public comments was about more pickleball courts. And going to the CML meeting in Bayfield last week, a lot of our neighborhood communities are starting to put in pickleball courts. So just before we go ahead and spend more on that, I want to see how that plays out and affects our community and the turnout of our courts. So.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Mayor, and I completely agree with you. Although, as just happenstance in our meeting this afternoon, we're kind of looking forward, in future years to possibly being able to do that. We can't make any promises, but there may be some light at the end of the tunnel for us, but it'll be good to be able to watch those other communities.
Great. All right, thank you for your report. Okay, we're going to move on to 11 on our agenda. 11A is the mayor's report on the workshop. So our workshop was short tonight. We got to hear a grant update from our grants administrator, Scott Baker. He's been hard at work this last year, getting lots of grants that he shared with us. I just got to find that sheet. Sorry, thank you. Thanks. Okay, yeah, so we've got road infrastructure and planning grants, housing development related grants, mobile computers for our police units. Those are all awarded grants, totaling millions of dollars. And then we've also helped with the historic preservation grants, park and recreation grants, and then we've got a lot in the pipeline. So I encourage the public who wants to know more details to watch our workshop meeting or reach out and ask what's going on. So, okay. Then we'll move on to, sorry, my paperwork. Other board reports. I'll start with Matt.
We will be meeting Friday morning.
Okay, for Parks and Rec.
No board report, but just wanted to share about the second annual Rise Southwest Memorial Walk that took place on Saturday last week. It was a really great event. There were, I was talking with some of the folks that had planned it. They had over 100 more people than they anticipated for the event this year. It was really beautiful, and just wanted to thank the city, police department, and folks that helped out, making sure everybody was safe during the event, and just say that I think it's a really meaningful opportunity for a lot of people in our community, and I'm just excited to see it continue to grow and just show that folks aren't alone in their experience, and that there are supports out there for them. And yeah, that's my report.
Met with the golf course committee, and our revenue is up daily, and 93% of the golf course is in cost recovery. In other words, they're doing 93% cost recovery of the golf course. It's in excellent condition, and if you don't play golf, now's a good time to start, and if you do play golf, now's the time to get out there and play.
I attended the Historic Preservation Board meeting last week. There are a couple of vacancies on that board, so if people are interested, apply. They are related to specific organizations. The board discussed outreach to members of the community who have eligible properties and are looking forward to some ways to reach out to them in the future, and also wanted to thank city staff for their help with outreach to the most recent, I guess for the auto tourism, the most recent newly known eligible properties. So it's been really helpful for city staff to help with some of that outreach.
Public Arts Committee. We do have another vacancy as of this last meeting, and have a lot of things on the board, but not ready to present yet, so no report.
Okay, yeah, so I want to reiterate to the public that we have openings on our Arts Committee Board, our Historic Preservation Board, and our Planning and Zoning Board. So if you want to get involved and you live in city limits, we'd love to have you submit a letter of interest to Linda Smith at lsmith@cortezco.gov or cortezco.gov. Okay. And then I just want to add that last week, CML had their regional, or I guess district meeting for our area, and it was in Bayfield, and so I went with Councilmember DeHaven, City Manager Drew Sanders, who else went? Travis Anderson from the county went, Linda Smith went, Rachel Marchbanks, and was that all of us? It's just it's really good to connect with the other municipalities in our area and see what they're up to, and we kind of get to see how projects work with them, and see where we have similar challenges, and just partnering and things. So it was a really good meeting. So yeah, sorry, now I'm rambling. I know we all want to go home. Okay, we'll move on. 12 on our agenda. We don't have other items of business. Public participation? Okay. Probably not. So I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by DeHaven and seconded by Dobry.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Kiefhoffer,
Aye.
Squirrel,
Yes.
Dobry,
Aye.
Rainey,
Aye.
Yazzie,
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. All right, thank you all for being here tonight. And thank you for all your work through budget season. I know this is a hard